Hey guys, welcome back to the scentitar channel. It's really good to have you here. I thank you for being here. Guys, I wanted to make this video especially for guys and people who don't have many fragrances, are new to fragrances, and really don't know where to go to buy their first fragrance or to add to their collection. Maybe they're unsure where to go and they'd like some pointers. So I'm here for you today. If you're a veteran or kind of a guru with fragrances, maybe I'll say something that refreshes your memory or kind of helps you. So I invite you to stick along, with me. So let's get into it, guys. Top 10 list on, where to buy fragrances and how to buy them. I had to start off with, watch some videos just like you're doing here today. You're seeking information, you're seeking new ideas, you're trying to figure out the answers to what fragrances are great, what fragrances do I need, what fragrance would be the best for me, for the people around me perhaps, what gets me the most compliments, what's the most attractive, or maybe, what fragrance kind of shares my personality. So, that's a great thing. That's a great thing you're here. So, and there's a lot more on this list that are going to help you. But of course, there's other videos I've made, and other great YouTubers as well. So, got to give them credit. And of course, there's Google. There's so much, on Google. You can just start typing fragrance, colognes, perfumes, start finding, all kinds of information. But let's get to number 9 then. Before you even do that, or after, you can go to the mall. If there's one thing I can suggest to you, one piece of advice that you take from this video, please let it be this one, number 9. Just go to the mall. There's so many fragrances out there that you can, smell at the mall for free. It's a great opportunity to figure out what you like, what you don't like, what brands perhaps smell the best to you. Pick up your first fragrance. It can be a really fun time. It can be really exciting. But I would encourage you, when you do this, to test it on your skin. Of course, spray a lot of samples on tester strips. Bring some little pieces of paper if you need to. But the ones that you're really interested in, you can test on your skin from the mall and keep going back. Or you can even ask for a sample. I know they're stingy at the mall these days about giving samples. Tell them that you're really interested in this fragrance and that you'd like to test it out. I think they'll accommodate you. I encourage you to do that because fragrances do seem to change. That fragrance that you loved and that you smelled for 10 seconds can really change and develop over time. And especially if you just smelled it off paper, you really need to test it on your skin. So that's my number 9 piece of advice. My number 10 is think of the fragrance you want, the notes, the situation. So getting into notes is something that a lot of new people into fragrances are kind of scared of. I encourage you not to be scared of notes. What do I mean by notes? I mean individual kind of parts of a fragrance. A fragrance is made out of all kinds of different smells from everything. The world can be made into perfume. And there's so many things that you've smelled that are great. So just remember the first time you kind of cracked open an orange. If you went to like an Indian restaurant and smelled that curry in the air, that was all wonderful spices. There's all kinds of notes out there that you've smelled, lavender, things like that, scents from candles, so many wonderful smells. And it's really great to figure out what notes that you like and that you might want to buy to add to your collection to fit a new spot. So, the second part of that is the situation. You need to think about if you're new to fragrances, you don't have any fragrance for any situation, so it's real. A lot of us really go for a versatile fragrance. I went for like Nautica Voyage. A lot of people go for Aqua di Gio and Dior Sauvage these days. And that's maybe a great place to start for you. And maybe see if you'd like another fragrance for different situations. If that's what you love and that does the job for you, there's no shame in it. So that's my number 8. Number 7 is look up fragrances similar to the ones you like. So once you find a fragrance you like, once you've bought one from the mall, smelled out quite a few different fragrances, maybe you found your fragrance from ordering samples online or from a decant service. You kind of figure out what kind of notes you like, what kind of feel of the fragrance that you like. So you might want a fragrance with that note, again, because you just like it so much. And this point is more about style, though. That's one aspect of it, but this is kind of about style. When you start learning about fragrances, different perfumers and different brands make different scents with different attitudes and a different feeling that's, you know, comes along with the fragrance. A Chanel is very different than a Dior, and Guerlain has their own style. A very popular niche house, meaning like they do fragrances a lot. It's just a term we use. Is Creed, and they have a signature DNA that's light and fresh and really classic. So it's a really good thing to know what kind of fragrances you like, especially if you're going to start going for cheapies or blind buying at all, which I personally recommend you sample first. But it's good to know your style. For me personally, on the Scentitar channel, I like fragrances that are full and smooth. Fragrances that have a little bit of sandalwood really do the job for me. But of course, I like all kinds of fragrances, and there's so much more out there, so much to learn, and that's why we're here. So guys, number 6 is research the history of the fragrance. Of course, this is something you don't have to do. Many people don't. But if you like to read, if you're really getting into a fragrance, maybe you're just going to own a few fragrances in your life. Just 1, 2 or 3. It's really good to look into the history of the brand, to know who you're supporting, you know, what's their history. A lot of the times they have fantastic journeys they've gone through. You know, Chanel, Dior, Guerlain, Versace all have a history. Of course, we know with fashion, but there's so much more than just that. They have a history with fragrances like Shalimar, Chanel No. 5, and there's so many others that have really changed the world. So guys, that's a great point I'd like to encourage you to do if you have the time, if that's something you're interested in. So that's number 6. So let's get to number 5. Determine what you want the fragrance for. Guys, I think I might have mentioned it before in this video, but we want fragrances for different situations. If you're a guy, you want one for probably business or whatever work you do. You want a fragrance a lot of the time for that's classy or professional. You might want a fragrance for a wedding, you know, or a funeral. You might want a fragrance for romantic situations. You might want to start branching out, wanting fragrances for like lazy days or special occasions. You might want a fragrance, you know, just for, you know, a special event. Maybe you go on vacation and buy a fragrance that, you know, reminds you of that vacation and that special time in your life. So it's great to have nostalgia and a connection with that fragrance. It's also great to find fragrances in your collection that are for different situations, even if you already have versatile fragrances. Of course, you don't have to have a fragrance for every situation or emotion, but it's great to find the fragrances that match you, whatever mood and whatever situation you might find yourself in. And that's up to you to determine, of course, how many fragrances you want. But that's a great thing to think about. Guys, we're going to get into number 4. Make a fragrance profile. this kind of gets into what I was talking about, what's a fragrance for, and finding fragrances that are similar to what you like, but it's different. Making a fragrance profile is all about finding our personal taste. You can do this by pulling out a piece of paper, writing down maybe your top 5 or top 10 fragrances, then looking up what kind of fragrance is this. Maybe it's a chypre, maybe it's a fougere, maybe it's an oriental, maybe you like spicy fragrances. These are big genres, categories of fragrances. And of course, it's great to have different fragrances in different categories, but you know, you might have a certain type of style, and it would be really nice to know, you know, where to look for a new fragrance. So for example, if I'm a classic gentleman type fellow, I probably am going to lean more towards fougères. And if I'm a lady, I mean, of course there's florals, but might lean more towards oriental fragrances. So the world's your oyster, and that's just about learning more about yourself. I think there are some tests you can do here and there, but I don't know how helpful they are. I can't attest to that at all. But let's get to number 2, buying samples. I think I encouraged you to do that, but a lot of the times you might, you know, you might have smelled all the fragrances at your mall. You might have asked everyone you know for decants, or smelled, you know, whatever you can. So if you get really into fragrances, or maybe you hear of a fragrance that's not easily accessible to you, you're gonna have to order that, you know, order that decant, order that sample. And I'd really encourage you to. It can be fun to try out a fragrance. It can really save you money, even though you're paying more for that small amount. It's just wonderful to the convenience that we have through ordering through eBay, scentsplit.com, and there's so many others, and Scentbird, and I'm not paid or commissioned by any of them. So let's get to number 1, guys. It's test. I encouraged you when you went to the mall to test it on your skin. I'm going to say it again, but test the scent on your skin. It's really important that you do that, because you have skin chemistry that's unique to you. You, in a way, have your own smell, and that fragrance is going to change and be different depending on you. And so you just gotta test it. And when you do test it, if you're especially interested in knowing if it's going to get you compliments, you can go to public spaces, you can go to parks, parties, social events. If it's a fragrance that you're specifically trying to test for a romantic situation, you might want to get your significant other to, you know, smell it and get their opinion on it. So that's something I'd really encourage you to do, is to thoroughly test something before you buy it. But of course, you can go blind buy cheapies if you want to. You can do whatever you want. But that's just a little bit of advice from me at the Scentitar channel to you. And this is the end of the video, but if you did enjoy it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. It's very important that you do, because that'll get you updates to my new videos. So it's a pleasure to have you here. It's really fun, and I'm enjoying doing these videos. So this has been the Scentitar channel. Pleasure to have you here. I'll see you again next time. Bye.